Democrat and Republican congressmen demanding President Obama investigate the Federal Reserve. 17 lawmakers from both parties actually say that the Fed should not be granted any new authority until questions about its role in Bank of America's acquisition of Merrill Lynch are answered.
Now joining us is one of those congressmen, Scott Garrett of New Jersey. Also with us, Vincent Reinhart, former director of monetary affairs at the Federal Reserve and resident scholar at the American Enterprise Institute. Congressman Garrett, first to you. We have a lot of sympathy for transparency. As you know, Fox Business has been suing the Fed for information for a long time. We want information, but we also understand why some folks at the Fed are reluctant to have politicians fiddling around with the central bank. We've seen that happen in other countries, and it sometimes ends badly.
Yeah, but we've also seen what happens when there is no accountability, there is no transparency, and whether recently or back from the very beginning, after the Depression and into the Great Depression. I think the American public is looking for the same thing that you are looking for, is exactly who are these unelected officials and what authorities do they have, what powers do they have, and what did they do recently that may have exacerbated some of the problems.
Vince is a former Fed insider, and of course you've been watching all of the developments. Do you think an investigation the likes of which Congress is calling for is warranted?
I think you want to separate the monetary policy functions of a central bank from its other functions. And when it gets involved in credit allocation, it's doing fiscal policy. And so you can't make the argument that it should be protected from investigation when it's doing something beyond its monetary policy function. So yes, I think it should be looked into.
Well, Scott, having thrown a bone to folks at the Fed who like secrecy, let me just say that once again, having gone so far into fiscal policy, as Vincent Reinhart just explained, once you do that, you do become accountable to taxpayers, and it's a whole new ball game, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And this was a discussion that you and I were having, about a half a year ago, right? Is that traditionally the Fed was in monetary policy, but beginning of last year, they got into a whole new field. They got into fiscal policy, and we were saying even then, even before we knew exactly how far down the road they were going to go with this, should there be some limitations on it? Should there be some oversight? Well, now a little bit of this information, thanks to you, and you're digging on this and others as well, that the information is coming out, and that's why the American public is clamoring for this information as well.
Okay, Vince, you obviously feel that an investigation may be warranted. Can I surmise, or at least get your opinion on whether you think there were some type of violations that occurred on behalf of the Fed or perhaps Ben Bernanke during the Bank of America Merrill Lynch situation, and whether the Fed did get involved in a way that was inappropriate?
Remember, it was a joint effort of the Fed and the Treasury. If you're not in the room, you don't know what is said, and you also don't know who was nodding as someone else was saying something inappropriate. I think this is going to come down to a he said, she said kind of investigation, and that's not very productive. Is it possible that there was wrongdoing? Yes. Also remember, these rules are pretty darn complicated. And so that once you get all those emails, once you see all the interactions, you can't rule out that there was wrongdoing.
Gotcha. Vincent Reinhart, Congressman Scott Garrett, great to see you both. And again, Scott Garrett, thank you for your hard work and punching through that secrecy veil that they've got there. We appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, it's a new beginning for General Motors.
And who